Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are Group 7 and we are going to do a presentation about our project. The title is School Database. But before that, I'm going to introduce you about this group. I am Sultan Faiz and there are also Aldizian and Raihan Rizky Axel. First of all, I'm going to explain about the ER diagram. We got 7 entities. There is class, major, student, lesson, days, teacher, and staff. Staff entity got 4 attributes, which are staff ID, staff name, division, and address. The key attribute of these staff entities is staff ID. Class entity. Class entity got 4, which are class ID, class name. The key attribute of class entities is class ID. Entity staff and class are connected and the relationship type is many-to-many. Majors entity got 2 attributes which are levels and name. Student entity got 5 attributes which are class ID, student name, address, and gender. The key attribute is student ID. Entities class and student are connected and the relationship type is many-to-many. Lesson entity got 4 attributes which are class ID, class name, subject, and time. Days entity got 2 attributes which are number and name. Teacher entity got 6 attributes which are teacher ID, teacher name, specialty, domicile, address, and gender. The key attributes of teacher entity is teacher ID. Entity student and lesson are connected and the relationship type is many-to-many. And also entities lesson and teacher are connected and the relationship type is many-to-many.
Okay, in this video I will explain to you about this query. I will explain in shortly. First, we create database Seman 7 Jakarta. After that, use Seman 7 Jakarta. After you create and use, you create a schema of database. And for create schema, query is create schema and the schema name. Okay, in this schema, this school schema, I create table, class, student, and etc. In this table, the table of class, there is column class ID, column class name, column class leader's name, column class leader's ID. In this column class ID, the data type is char. The total char is 3 and it cannot to blank data or not null. For create the table, we can type the format query is like this, and I do the same things for the next table. And after you create the query of table, you can execute I'm sorry, the first you execute the create database. After that you execute the use Seman 7 Jakarta. After that you create a schema, you execute again, and after that you execute the table what you create, execute, and comments completed successfully. Okay, in this query it aims to create the primary key in one table, and the format of the query is like this. You can pause the video as I explain to you very fast. Yeah, in this for example, in this query, I want to create primary key in a class table in school scheme, and the column for primary key is class underscore id. Yeah, and I do the same thing to another table. After that, you just do execute and successfully. And next, in this query is aims to this query aims to create a foreign key in the one table, so the tables are linked via one column. For example, and before that, the format of the query is like this. You can pause if I explain to you very fast. Yeah, this query aims to create a foreign key. For example, in this query, I want to create foreign key in table student 10 IPA, and the foreign key is class 10 IPA underscore id. Yeah, after that, so the student 10 IPA and class table is linked via column class id. Okay, in this query aims to create terms and condition in the column what we want. For example, in this query, I create the terms of the class table in the school scheme, and I create terms in column class underscore id. I want to create the terms is like this. The first character is number 1, the second character is number 0 to number 2, and the third character is A to B. The format of query is like this, and I do the same things for another column what I want, but I change the terms according to the requirements. After you create the terms and condition, just execute it and successfully. Okay, now after you create a terms and condition, you create a table, you create a scheme. Now you can insert the data what you want to the table, and the data what you insert must be according to the table format. And after you typing the data, you can execute this. Now we can look the data of the data and this query format to look your data. Select star from the name of scheme and the name of table. Now we can look the result of data. Yeah. And the last part of this video is I will explain to you about the procedure and the trigger. In this query, I create a procedure for insert procedure to the table of student 11 IPS. For the first, you can typing create a procedure, and after that you can typing the name of procedure. After that you declare what the column what you want to be there. After that just type like this: as begin insert into school student 11 IPS values. And this query is aims to what the column what you want to insert the data. After you create the procedure like this, you can execute this. After that you can create this query to execute what procedure you create before. Yeah. After that you execute this, right? And now just look what the procedure is work or not. We can look in the in this one. That's works, right? Supratman Amar. Okay. And the second, I will explain to you about trigger that I create. The first I create trigger and the name of trigger what I want. After that, on the where of the trigger is works. In this one, the trigger I create for the table of stuff in the scheme school. The trigger is aims to delete. The query is like this. This trigger is aims to if you delete the data of school stuff is you will the SQL server will print not allowed to erase stuff data, and the trigger is always rollback transaction. If you are ready to create the query, you just execute this. Now we look the trigger works or not. Now we try to delete the data of school.stuff. The SQL server the system will print not allowed to erase stuff data. It means the trigger what we are create before is works. Okay.
Okay, I will explain about table diagram. Table staff school and teacher's lesson is not connected to the other. It's just learn. So after that, the table the student one IPA school, table subject Friday lessons, table 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 subject Tuesday lesson, table student one IPS school. It's it connected to the table class school because they are have class ID. Class ID in the table student one IPA school, subject Friday lesson, subject Tuesday lesson, student one IPS school. Class ID become a foreign key. So so in so also in table student 12 IPS school, table student 1 IPS school, table Monday, table subject Monday's lesson, table student 10 IPA school, table student 12 IPS school, table subject Wednesday lesson, table 12 IPA school, table Thursday lesson, table 10 IPS school, table student 10 IPA school, also connected to table class school because they are has class ID who become foreign key.